The call came at exactly 6:52 in the morning, and in 3 seconds, my entire life shattered. I was sitting alone in a dark kitchen, streetlight filtering through rain-soaked Seattle glass as the rain tapped steadily over Elliott Bay. The glucose meter in my hand beeped its warning, my blood sugar dropping fast, my hands shaking so badly I could barely hold the lancet. I was just about to inject insulin when my phone vibrated. Victor's name flashed on the screen. I hesitated for 2 seconds, then answered. His voice was low, polished, so fake I could hear the satisfaction beneath it. Alex, Mom passed away last night, peacefully in her sleep. The funeral is on Friday, and about the will, everything belongs to me. The house, the Whidbey Island cottage, the rare book collection, the investments, all of it. You get nothing. Do not even think about contesting it. Then he hung up. The coffee cup slipped from my hand and shattered on the floor. A sharp shard sliced into my thumb, blood spilling out and dripping into the spreading puddle of coffee. I stood frozen, watching blood mix with coffee, dark red swirling into black like a wound cut straight through my heart. This was not bad news. This was a declaration of war. I had known Victor all my life. He was always Mother's favorite, the youngest son she called her golden boy. And I was the eldest, the one who carried responsibility in silence, the one Mother always said was stable, dependable, the one who would manage. I was 63 years old, a structural engineer, retired after 40 years of designing some of the strongest bridges in Washington state. I used to think I was the strongest one in the family. It turned out I was simply the most underestimated. 3 weeks earlier, I had visited Mother at Evergreen Haven for the last time. She sat by the window, eyes drifting toward the rain-misted garden. I held her hand and told her about Olivia, about my daughter's old-growth forest conservation work in Portland. She smiled faintly, but it was no longer the smile of Margaret Bennett, the literature professor who could silence an entire lecture hall by reading Shakespeare. She was now just an 86-year-old woman with severe dementia, according to Dr. Elias Grant's diagnosis. I had suspected something. But suspicion was only a vague feeling, not strong enough to act on. Now it was. Blood still dripped from my thumb. I did not wipe it away. I let it flow, letting the pain remind me that I was alive, that I could still fight. Victor thought he had won. He thought I would bow my head and accept it, like I always had before. He did not know that in 40 years as an engineer, I learned one thing above all else. Bridges do not collapse because of strong winds or floods. They collapse because the foundation is hollowed out from within. And today, he had just hollowed out his own foundation. I picked up the broken shard of porcelain, blood coating my hand. It hurt. But the awakening hurt more. My mother was not dead. I knew it in my bones, because if she truly were gone, Victor would not have called me with that voice. He would have called trembling, with real tears, with apology. He would not have rushed to declare that I got nothing. He rushed because he was afraid. Afraid I would uncover the truth before he finished his plan. I stood up, wiped the blood away with a paper towel, and looked out the window. The Seattle rain kept falling, as if washing lies away. I took a deep breath, feeling the insulin begin to stabilize my body. But something else was rising inside me, something Victor had never seen. The calm of a man who had spent a lifetime building structures meant to stand. And now I would rebuild justice for my mother, at any cost. I picked up my phone, my blood-stained fingers dialing Olivia's number. My daughter answered, her voice worried at the strange hour. "Dad? What's wrong?" I spoke calmly, firmly. "Olivia, fly back to Seattle today. Something big has happened. And this time, we are not letting Uncle Victor win." I ended the call and looked down at the pool of blood and coffee on the floor. He thought I would get nothing. He was wrong. I would take everything back, not for money, but because my mother was still alive, and because I, the eldest son, everyone labeled stable, boring, unambitious, was the one who would make him kneel and apologize, one way or another. The rain outside kept falling, but inside me, a storm was forming. And when it broke, Victor would not have time to run. I sat down at the kitchen chair, my hands still streaked with dried blood from the cut. The Seattle rain kept falling outside the window, its steady tapping like a heartbeat trying to calm itself. I looked around the house, the place Mother used to visit every month, bringing toasted bread and old books, sitting at the table telling stories about the Shakespeare plays she taught at the university. Now it was just where I lived alone, with faded photographs on the walls and the ticking of the clock reminding me that time was passing. Our family had once looked perfect, at least from the outside. Father died young in a construction accident when I was 12, and Victor was 8. Mother, Margaret Bennett, was 38 then. A young literature professor, brilliant and resilient. She never cried in front of us. She simply held us tight and whispered, "We still have each other, and I will not let anyone hurt you." She worked twice as hard, teaching night classes, writing books, so we could go to college without debt. I remember evenings by Green Lake when she read poetry to us, her voice warm and rhythmic, making the world feel small, as if it were only the three of us. Victor was always the more indulged child. He was smart, quick-witted, charming. Mother used to say, "Victor takes after his father. He has natural charisma." I was the stable one, the reliable one. I accepted that role. I studied engineering, worked hard, built roads and bridges, married Eleanor, had Olivia. Victor chose a different path. He became an investment broker, always chasing big wins and once-in-a-lifetime opportunities. He married Laura and had a son, Jordan, but his life was never steady. Once he borrowed money from Mother for a sure-thing investment and lost it all. Mother still helped him, never blaming him. She believed her son would grow up, but he never did. He only grew greedier. 10 months ago, everything began to change. Victor went to Mother and convinced her to sign power of attorney to help manage her finances and medical decisions as she aged. Mother hesitated, but Victor was persuasive. "Mom, I am the youngest. I want to take the best care of you. Pass down. Alex already has health issues. He is diabetic." Mother looked at me and I nodded. I trusted my brother. I was wrong. Just weeks after Victor gained authority, Mother suddenly developed severe dementia. Dr. Elias Grant, Victor's college friend, diagnosed it quickly as rapidly progressing dementia. Mother was moved to Evergreen Haven in Kirkland, a high-end nursing home with manicured gardens and friendly staff. The first time I visited, she sat in a chair, eyes vacant, not recognizing me. She muttered fragments, her hands trembling. I held her hand and told her about Olivia, about my daughter's forest conservation project in Oregon. She looked at me briefly, then turned away. It felt like my heart was being crushed. I kept visiting 3 times a week. Even when she did not recognize me, even when she was silent, I sat there, talking, reading poetry to her, Shakespeare poems she once taught me. I thought it was the only way to keep her connected to the world. Victor was different. He visited less, always rushed, always checking his watch. Once I caught him whispering to Mother, his tone sharp. She only nodded weakly. I asked him how she was. He smiled thinly and said, "Bad, but do not worry. I have it under control." I believed him. Again, now I see it clearly. He was not taking care of Mother. He was taking care of her assets, the house in Queen Anne she bought with book royalties and her pension, the cottage on Whidbey Island where we spent summers fishing and reading by the fireplace, the rare book collection, more than 200 volumes worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, from a first edition Hamlet to rare Emily Dickinson poems, and the investments Mother managed carefully for her old age and her grandchildren. Victor was drowning in debt, failed investments, an affair with a colleague at the brokerage firm, lies he was hiding from Laura. Jordan, my nephew, 22, was in college with crushing tuition. Victor used Mother's money to pay debts, to buy gifts for his mistress, to keep up a polished image. I had heard hints from Laura before, but I did not want to believe them. Now I had no choice. I stood up and washed the dried blood from my hands under cold water. The blood went down the drain, but the truth did not. Victor was not just stealing money. He was trying to erase my mother from life itself, at least on paper, so he could take everything. I checked the clock. 7:15 in the morning. Olivia would be on the earliest flight from Portland. I needed to prepare. I needed a lawyer. I needed evidence. And more than anything, I needed to see Mother. Because if she was truly still alive, and I believed she was, then she was waiting for me. Waiting for this stable son to prove that he was not only reliable, but capable of fighting. I grabbed my car keys and stepped outside. The rain kept falling, but I did not feel cold anymore. Inside my chest, a fire had been lit, the fire of a father, a son, someone who had been underestimated for far too long. Victor thought he held the power. He was wrong. Real power does not lie in money or paperwork. It lies in love and in the persistence of those who are dismissed. I was going to show him that. I drove through Seattle's rain-soaked streets, the downpour so heavy the wipers had to work nonstop. My hands clenched the steering wheel, my thumb still bearing the small cut from the shattered coffee cup, already scabbed over but stinging every time I tightened my grip. The glucose monitor in my jacket pocket beeped a warning, my blood sugar dropping below 70. I knew I needed to eat something, but my stomach twisted and refused to cooperate. I pulled over to the side of the road, opened the glove compartment, and grabbed an energy bar and a bottle of orange juice. I took a long drink, the sweet, sour taste flooding my mouth and pulling me back into focus. But the shaking was not from low blood sugar. It was the tremor of truth rising to the surface. Victor had lied. Mother was not dead. And he was trying to make everyone believe that she was. I took out my phone and dialed Evergreen Haven. It rang 3 times before a young nurse answered. Evergreen Haven, how may I help you? My name is Alexander Bennett. My mother, Margaret Bennett, is in room 214. I just received news that she passed away last night. I want to confirm. There was a brief pause and the sound of typing. Mr. Bennett, I have checked. Mrs. Margaret is still here. She finished breakfast a short while ago and is currently reading the newspaper in the common room. Is there some kind of misunderstanding? My heart pounded so loudly I could hear it in my ears. There was no misunderstanding. Victor had fabricated the story. He had arranged a Friday funeral, sent out notices, contacted relatives, all to legitimize taking control of the assets before Mother truly passed away or before anyone discovered the truth. Thank you, I said hoarsely. Please do not tell anyone that I called, especially my brother Victor. I will be there shortly. I ended the call and took a deep breath. The rain kept falling, but I no longer felt cold. I felt angry, a clean, sharp anger, stripped of confusion. I called Olivia. She answered on the second ring, her voice tense. Dad, I am at Portland Airport. The earliest flight is 10:15. What is going on? I told her briefly, calmer than I expected. Uncle Victor says Grandma died last night, but she is alive. She is still at the nursing home. He is trying to take everything. Fly back now, Olivia. I need you. There was a second of silence, then her voice hardened. I am coming back. And Dad, do not do anything alone. Wait for me. I nodded, even though she could not see me. I will wait, but I have to start now. I drove straight to the office of Elena Vargas, the attorney I had worked with years earlier on a construction contract dispute. She now specialized in inheritance law and elder abuse. I walked into her office, still damp from the rain, my hair plastered to my forehead. Elena looked up and raised an eyebrow. Alex, you look like you have been run over by a truck. Sit down. I told her everything. The call, the false news of Mother's death, the confirmation from the nursing home. She listened closely, taking fast notes, her expression growing more serious by the minute. This is serious, Alex. If Victor holds power of attorney and is deliberately concealing your mother's condition or illegally transferring assets, this constitutes elder abuse and fraud, possibly even attempted murder if medication is involved. But you need solid evidence, not instincts. I know. I need an investigator. Elena nodded. I will refer you to Lena Torres. She is excellent, discreet, and experienced with cases like this. That afternoon, Lena came to my house. She was around 45, short, dark hair, eyes sharp as blades. She sat across from me at the kitchen table, taking notes as I recounted everything. Where can you start? I asked. With the finances first. I will track the flow of money from Margaret's accounts over the past 10 months. Then the medical records. Dr. Elias Grant, your brother says he is Victor's college friend? Yes, they went to the University of Washington together. Lena nodded. I will dig into it. But you need patience, and you need to act normal. Do not let Victor suspect anything. I nodded, but my mind was fixed on one thing. I had to see Mother. I had to see with my own eyes that she was alive, that she still recognized me. That evening, I drove to Evergreen Haven. The rain had eased, but thick fog blanketed the garden. I parked far away and entered through the back door using the code I still remembered from previous visits. The hallway was quiet, the smell of disinfectant mixed with dinner. I reached room 214. The door was slightly open. I pushed it gently, my heart racing. Mother sat in an armchair by the window, the dim light outlining her face. She was gazing outside, holding an old book, a volume of Emily Dickinson's poems. She did not look up at first. Then she turned, and in that moment I saw it, a small spark in her eyes. "Alexander," she whispered, her voice weak but clear. I stepped inside and closed the door, my voice trembling. "Mom, you are still here." She smiled, a real smile, not the vacant one I had grown used to. "My son, you are late." I knelt beside her chair and took her hand. It was cold, but it gripped mine firmly, not shaking, not fragile. "You are not dead," I said as tears spilled over. "Not yet," she replied, "but Victor thinks I am, and he wants everyone else to believe it too." I looked at her, trying to understand. She was still lucid. Still Margaret Bennett, the woman who once silenced entire lecture halls when she read Hamlet. She was not demented. She was acting. I wanted to ask 100 questions, but only one came out. "Mom, what is happening?" She squeezed my hand. "We will talk later, my son. For now, you need to leave. Do not let him see you here. And Alexander, I am proud of you. You kept coming, even when I pretended not to recognize you." I stood, tears streaming down my face, kissed her forehead, and left the room, my heart heavy yet strangely light. Mother was alive, and she was fighting. I drove home through the fog, my phone buzzing with a message from Olivia. "I landed, taking a taxi to your place." I smiled for the first time that day. The storm was coming, and this time we would not let Victor win. The next morning, I woke up with a pounding headache and a metallic taste in my mouth, the result of too little sleep and unstable blood sugar. Olivia had made it home late the night before and held me so tightly I almost cried. We sat at the kitchen table drinking black coffee, no sugar, no milk, just the way Mother taught us when we were young. Coffee has to be bitter to keep you awake. Olivia looked at me, her eyes red from a sleepless flight. "Dad, I reread all of Grandma's medical records you sent me. Dr. Elias Grant diagnosed rapidly progressing dementia within just 6 weeks. No MRI, no comprehensive testing, only observation and a few basic assessments. That is not normal." I nodded. "I know, and I suspect Victor is involved." The phone buzzed. Lena Torres. I put it on speaker so Olivia could hear. "Alex, I have preliminary results. Over the past 10 months, since Victor obtained power of attorney, $320,000 has been transferred from Margaret's accounts into various destinations. Some into Victor's personal account, some into a shell company called Whidbey Holdings, LLC. I am tracing the ownership, but for now, it is registered under the name of a lawyer in Tacoma who previously worked with Victor." I tightened my grip on the coffee cup until my knuckles turned white. "What about the cottage on Whidbey Island?" "Sold 4 months ago. The paperwork lists the price at $600,000, but the market value was at least $200,000 higher. The money went into Whidbey Holdings, and the rare book collection, more than 200 volumes worth roughly $150,000. Victor is quietly offering it through a rare book dealer in New York. The final contract is not signed yet, but he has already taken a 10% deposit." Olivia slammed her hand on the table. "He is selling Grandma's legacy as if she were already dead." Lena continued, her voice calm but sharp. "There is also Margaret's credit card. He has charged over $40,000 in 6 months. Shopping, travel, transfers to another personal account. I suspect it is for his mistress. Her name is Sophia Reed, a colleague at the brokerage firm." I took a deep breath. "And Dr. Elias Grant?" "Victor's college friend, same graduating class at the University of Washington. They were members of the same student association. Grant prescribed a series of sedatives and antipsychotics for Margaret, dosages unusually high for an elderly patient. Combined, they can cause symptoms almost identical to dementia, memory loss, lethargy, cognitive impairment. I am requesting the full medical records, but it will take time." Blood rushed to my head. So Mother was being drugged to make her look demented? Very likely. This goes beyond financial fraud. This is severe abuse, possibly intentional harm. Olivia stood up and paced. "Dad, we have to call the police now." "Not yet," I said. "If we do it now, Victor will know and may destroy evidence. We need to catch him in the act." Lena agreed. "I advise continued monitoring. I will send a more detailed report tonight. And Alex, take care of your health. You are under extreme stress." I ended the call and looked at Olivia. She took my hand. "Dad, I am here. We will do this together." That afternoon, I went to Evergreen Haven. I deliberately arrived around the time Victor usually visited, about 4 p.m. I parked far away, pulled a baseball cap low, and stood in a corner of the hallway overlooking the courtyard. Then he arrived. A sleek black BMW pulled up to the main entrance. Victor stepped out in a gray suit, leather briefcase in hand, confidence written all over his face. He went into Mother's room. I slipped closer and stood outside the door, ear pressed to it. His voice floated out, syrupy and fake. "Mom, how are you today? I brought the paperwork. Just a few signatures and we are done. The cottage is sold. The money is in a safe account. Now it is just the rare books. Sign here and I will take care of everything." Silence, then Mother's weak, feigned voice. "Books? What books? I cannot remember." Victor sighed, irritation creeping in. "Mom, do not make this difficult. Just sign. I am doing everything for you." I heard papers rustle, then the scratch of a pencil on paper, not a real signature, just meaningless scribbles. Victor cursed under his breath. "Mom, sign properly." He stormed out, face flushed. I retreated into the shadows. He did not see me. He walked straight to his car, making a call. "Sophia, sweetheart, the money is almost here. Give me a few more days. Mom is about to go." He drove off. I stood there, heart pounding. Then the dizziness hit. My blood sugar crashed. Everything blurred. I grabbed the wall, gasping. Olivia rushed toward me from behind. She had followed me to the nursing home without telling me. "Dad, are you okay?" She eased me into a chair, pulled a candy bar from my pocket, and pressed it into my hand. "Eat. Do not scare me." I chewed slowly as the sweetness spread. When my vision cleared, I looked at her. "Thank you." Olivia hugged me. "You cannot fall now. We need you strong." I nodded, but a cold realization settled in my mind. Victor was not just stealing money. He was killing Mother, day by day, with drugs, with words, with indifference. He had taken Mother on a so-called walk that day, 4 hours long. When they returned, she looked exhausted, her eyes duller than usual. Victor helped her into the room, whispering something. I stood outside the window, peering through the curtain gap. He stroked her hair, but it was not affection. It was control. He left. I entered Mother's room immediately. She sat up, her eyes clear again. "My son," she whispered. "He forced me to sign the book transfer papers. I pretended to sign, just scribbles. He was furious." I held her hand. "Mom, we are close. Lena is digging deeper. Olivia is here. We will not let him win." She smiled faintly. "I know. I trust you." I kissed her hand and left. On the drive home, the rain fell again. This time I did not feel alone. The money trail was exposed, and the trail of crime would soon follow. Victor thought he was in control. He was wrong, because the one everyone underestimated, me, now had allies, evidence, and a fire that could not be extinguished. The storm was coming, and he would not outrun it. That night, the Seattle rain fell heavier than ever, drumming against the roof like thousands of fingers tapping an urgent rhythm. I sat in my car, parked far from Evergreen Haven, headlights off, lit only by the faint glow of streetlights spilling through the rain. The dashboard clock read 11:17. Olivia was at home waiting, her phone on silent, but I knew she was awake, worrying about me. My phone vibrated once, short and sharp. An unknown number, blocked. I answered without speaking. A whisper came through, weak but unmistakably clear, like wind slipping through a crack in the door. "Alexander, come tonight, after 10. Tell no one. Do not let Victor know." Then the line went dead. My heart slammed so hard it hurt. It was Mother's voice. Not the vacant mumbling voice, not the confused rambling. It was Margaret Bennett's voice. The voice she used when she read Shakespeare aloud, when she scolded me for forgetting my raincoat, when she held me and cried after Eleanor's funeral. It was impossible. She could not make calls. She could not speak that clearly. And yet I knew it was her. I waited until 10:15. The night staff had changed shifts. The halls were empty. I used the old access code at the back entrance and slipped inside like a ghost. The familiar smell of disinfectant mixed with stale coffee hung in the air. I walked to room 214 and pushed the door open gently. Mother sat upright on the bed, a dim lamp casting soft light across her face. She was not lying there, vacant as usual. She sat straight, eyes sharp, holding a slim book, a volume of Emily Dickinson's poems already open. When she looked up at me, that smile appeared, the real smile, the one that once made my whole world feel safe. "Close the door, my son." I did, my hands shaking so badly I had to steady myself against the wall. My voice came out uneven. "Mom, how are you? You called me?" She nodded, her voice normal, strong, without a trace of tremor. "Sit down, Alexander. We do not have much time." I sat in the chair beside the bed, unable to take my eyes off her. She took my hand and held it tightly. Her hand was cold, but not weak, not trembling. Not the hand of a woman who had lost her mind. I was never losing my mind, my son. I was pretending. The floor seemed to tilt beneath me. Pretending? Mom, why? She looked at me, eyes bright but dry, and took a deep breath, speaking slowly, as if telling a long story. "I am 86 years old, Alexander. I have thought a great deal about death, about what remains after I am gone. Not money, not houses or books. I wanted to know who truly loved me, not for what I owned, but for who I am. When I became weak, when I had nothing left to give, who would stay?" I swallowed hard. "You suspected Victor?" She nodded sadly. "For a long time. He was always asking about money, about the will, about the cottage, about the books. When he convinced me to sign the power of attorney, I saw an opportunity. I agreed. But before that, I met with a private attorney, one Victor did not know about. I transferred most of my assets into an irrevocable trust. The accounts he could access were bait. I left just enough for him to bite, to see what he would do." I shook my head, trying to take it in. "And you pretended to lose your mind, to test us?" "Yes. I played the role of the frail, confused old woman who recognized no one. And you, my son, you came to see me 3 times a week. You sat there, held my hand, told me about Olivia, read poetry to me, even when I pretended not to understand. You did not give up. You asked for nothing. You were simply there." Tears spilled down my face. "Because you are my mother. I did not need you to recognize me to come." She squeezed my hand tighter. "Victor was different. He came less often. When he did come, he forced me to sign documents. He grew angry when I pretended not to understand. He took things from my room, small books, keepsakes, thinking I would not notice. I recorded everything. I have proof." I looked at her, stunned and proud all at once. "Mom, you are incredible," she smiled sadly. "I am not strong, my son. I was afraid to face the truth that my youngest child could treat me like a commodity. But I had to know, and now I do." She paused and looked toward the window. The rain kept falling, tapping like a heartbeat, steady and relentless. Today, during our little walk, he told me I would soon have an accident. He wanted me to sign the transfer papers for the rare books before I passed away. I refused and pretended to be confused. He is desperate now. He knows time is running out. I stood up, my voice shaking. "Mom, we need to call the police right now. He is trying to kill you." She shook her head. "Not yet. I have already contacted Elena Vargas, your lawyer, who has also been my lawyer for the past month. We have a plan. I need you to trust me. Can you do that?" I knelt beside the bed and wrapped my arms around her. "Always, Mom." She stroked my hair the way she did when I was a child. "I remember evenings by Green Lake. I read Hamlet to you and Victor. You always sat quietly and listened. Victor fidgeted and asked endless questions. I thought you would be the one to protect me, and I was right. I cried openly then. I am sorry I did not realize sooner." "It is all right, my son. You are here now, and we will finish this." I stood, wiping my tears. "Rest now. I will follow your plan." She nodded, her eyes bright. "Tomorrow I will keep acting. You visit as usual. Change nothing. And Alexander, I love you." I kissed her forehead and left the room. The hallway was dark, but my heart was blazing with light. Mother had never left. She was still there, sharp, intelligent, unbreakable. She had saved herself by pretending to be at her weakest, and now she entrusted me, the stable, unambitious son, with seeing it through. I drove home through the rain. Olivia waited at the door, her eyes red. I held her and whispered, "Grandma is alive, and she is guiding us." Olivia sobbed. "We are going to win, right, Dad?" I nodded, my voice steady. "We will win, because Mother chose us, and this time, the one everyone underestimated will be the one who ends it." The rain kept falling, but inside me a dawn was breaking. The next morning, I woke up earlier than usual. Rare Seattle sunlight filtered through the curtains, falling across the kitchen table where Olivia sat with a cup of hot tea. She had been awake since 5 a.m., dark circles under her eyes, but a steady, determined look in them. We did not talk much. A single glance was enough. Today was the day the ending truly began. I called Elena Vargas. She answered immediately, her voice calm as always. "Alex, I have contacted the King County Police. They agreed to cooperate quietly. We will not arrest him yet. We let Victor dig his own grave. We need evidence that cannot be denied: video, recordings, clear actions. I nodded, even though she could not see me. Mother has agreed. She will keep acting. We will install hidden cameras in her room. Elena let out a soft breath. I will send a trusted technical team to Evergreen Haven this afternoon. They will install 3 small cameras, one in the corner of the ceiling, one near the head of the bed, one on the table by the window. Long battery life, clear footage, live transmission to a secure server. The nursing home staff member we trust, head nurse Maria, has been informed. She will assist. Olivia cut in. What about the medication? If he brings poison? We will monitor everything. If he tries to inject her or force a high dose, the cameras will capture it. Police will intervene immediately if there is any risk to her life. Ideally, we let him expose everything himself: forged documents, threats, coercion. I was silent for a moment. Is Mother in danger? Elena answered directly. Yes, but your mother is mentally prepared. She told me I would rather face danger than live in lies. She is stronger than we think, Alex. I ended the call and looked at Olivia. She took my hand. Dad, we are doing the right thing. Grandma needs us. That afternoon, I went to Evergreen Haven as usual. I brought a bouquet of white chrysanthemums, Mother's favorite flowers, and sat beside her like always. She performed perfectly. Unfocused eyes, trembling hands, muttering fragmented phrases. But when the technician slipped in to install the cameras, pretending to check the lights, she gave me a slight wink. A small, sharp wink that told me she was still in control. Victor arrived at 6 p.m. He entered the room carrying a leather briefcase and a small brown medicine bottle. I stood in the hallway, pretending to read a newspaper, my ear close to the door. The cameras were live. I could watch everything on my phone through the secure link Elena had sent. Victor's voice was sweet at first. Mom, I brought you some supplements today. Dr. Grant said this would help you feel better, just 1 pill. Mother pretended to be confused. Medicine? What medicine? I cannot remember. He sighed, his tone growing sharp. Mom, do not make this difficult. Just take it. I am doing everything for you. On the screen, I saw him open the bottle and pour out a pill that was unusually large. It was not a normal dose. The color was off. He brought it to her mouth. Mother pretended to open her lips, but cleverly pushed the pill into her cheek, then swallowed water without swallowing the pill. He did not notice. He stroked her hair and whispered, Tomorrow is the last day, Mom. Tomorrow you will finally rest. I will take care of everything. Do not worry. He left. I waited until he was gone before entering the room. Mother immediately sat up, removed the pill from her cheek, and handed it to me. Keep it, my son, for toxicology. My hands shook as I placed it into a plastic bag. Mom, he was trying to kill you. She nodded. No fear in her eyes. He has considered me dead in his heart for a long time. Now he only wants to finish the paperwork. But I have recorded everything. The cameras captured it too. We have enough. Olivia came to pick me up. On the drive home, she drove while I sat beside her, silently watching the rain streak across the windshield. She broke the silence. Dad, I remember Grandma telling stories about Eleanor. She said your mother was the strongest woman she had ever known. Now I understand why. Grandma is just as strong. I smiled sadly. She taught us that family is not blood. It is choice. It is staying when there is nothing left. Olivia nodded, and we chose to stay. That evening, Elena called again. The cameras are working perfectly. We have footage of him bringing the medication, forcing her to take it, and saying, tomorrow you will finally rest. Combined with the financial records Lena provided, the police have prepared the arrest warrant. But we wait until the funeral. That is when he feels most confident and when he exposes himself most clearly. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling. My blood sugar was stable thanks to Olivia reminding me to take my insulin on time. My mind was not. I thought about Victor, the younger brother who once ran after me across the backyard lawn, who cried when our father died, who slept clinging to me on stormy nights. Now he was a stranger. I did not hate him. I only felt sorrow. Sorrow for what he had lost, not money, but his mother's love, his child's love, and his own humanity. Tomorrow would be Thursday. Victor would come one last time to force her to sign the transfer of the rare books. He would bring more medication, and we would wait. The trap was set. Mother was the bait. I was the one pulling the string. Olivia was the witness, and Victor would walk in, unaware that he was stepping straight into the hole he had dug himself. I closed my eyes. For the first time in days, I slept. Not a peaceful sleep, but the sleep of someone ready to face what was coming, because Mother had chosen me, and I would not let her down. I expected. The Seattle rain stopped completely early that morning, leaving behind a dull gray sky and a bone-deep chill in the air. Harborview Funeral Home sat on the outskirts of Kirkland, a white, old-style building with large columns and a parking lot packed with cars. Victor had arranged everything flawlessly. Fresh flowers filled the space, and a large portrait of Mother from 20 years earlier, standing at a lecture podium with her hair neatly pinned up and her eyes bright, was placed at the center of the hall. The obituary was printed on glossy paper, filled with polished words. Margaret Bennett, a mother, an educator, and a remarkable woman, passed away after a long illness. I arrived early, dressed in a black suit, sitting in the front row on the left with Olivia. She gripped my hand tightly, her nails digging into my skin hard enough to hurt. We said nothing. We only watched. Victor sat across the aisle with Laura and Jordan. Laura's eyes were red, her arm wrapped around her husband's shoulder in comfort. Jordan, my nephew, 22 years old, kept his head lowered, his shoulders trembling. He had loved his grandmother so much, he used to call her every week to ask for advice. Now he looked at his father with an expression torn between pain and confusion. The room was full. Distant relatives, Mother's former university colleagues, a few friends from her youth, all had come. Whispers drifted through the air. It happened so fast. She seemed so healthy. Victor handled everything, poor man. At exactly 2 p.m, Victor stood up. He walked to the podium, adjusted the microphone, his voice low and warm, his eyes glistening with tears, fake tears I recognized instantly. We are gathered here today to remember Margaret Bennett, born February 14, 1939, who passed away on January 7, 2025. Mother was an extraordinary woman, an educator who inspired thousands of students over 35 years, a mother who always put her children first. In the final months of her life, she trusted everything to me, her youngest son. She knew I would protect her legacy and take care of the family. She loved me the most. She told me so many times. She wanted me to have the house, the cottage on Whidbey Island, her rare book collection, everything she worked so hard to build because she believed I would use it wisely. He paused, his voice breaking, dabbing his eyes with a handkerchief. The room was silent. A few people cried. I felt Olivia's grip tighten. Then I stood up. Every eye turned toward me. My voice rang out, steady and clear. Interesting, Victor. Would you like to tell everyone where Mother is right now? Victor froze, his face draining of color. Alex, sit down. This is not the time. I stepped into the aisle. Where is the body, Victor? Where is Mother's body? You said she was cremated. I called the crematorium. They have no record of her. Laura clutched Victor's arm, her voice shaking. Victor, what are you talking about? The back door of the funeral home opened. Everyone turned. The whispers turned into sharp gasps. Mother walked in slowly, using a walker, but her back was straight and her eyes were sharp and bright. She wore her favorite light blue wool coat, her hair neatly pinned. Behind her stood 2 uniformed police officers, their hands resting lightly at their belts. The room exploded. People stood up. Someone screamed. Jordan burst into sobs, covering his mouth. Laura stood frozen, her face pale. Victor staggered backward, his mouth hanging open. Mother walked down the center aisle, step by deliberate step. When she reached Victor, she stopped. Her voice was clear and strong, without a trace of weakness. Hello, my son. Victor stammered. Mom, this is a mistake. You are very ill. This is all a misunderstanding. Mother shook her head. I am not mistaken. I recorded everything over the past 8 months. Every threat. Every time you forced me to sign documents. Every time you took things from my room. Every time you drugged me to keep me quiet. I have video. I have bank records. I have the testimony of Dr. Elias Grant, who has admitted he prescribed excessive medication at your request. She turned to the room. Many people were crying now, from relief, from shock, from heartbreak. I am sorry for deceiving all of you, but I had to know the truth. I had to see which son would stay when I had nothing left to give. Alexander visited me 3 times a week, even when I pretended not to recognize him. Victor came only for signatures, for money, waiting for me to die. One officer stepped forward, his voice firm and calm. Victor Bennett, you are under arrest for elder abuse, theft over $5,000, inheritance fraud, and attempted murder. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say may be used against you in court. Victor tried to run. He shoved the officer and lunged toward the door. But after 3 steps, he was tackled and handcuffed, his hands forced behind his back. He screamed, his voice breaking. Mom, I am your son. You cannot do this. I need the money. I am drowning in debt. I have to survive. Mother looked at him, tears streaming down her face, but her voice remained steady. You were my son. You stopped being my child the moment you valued my life less than a bank account. They led him away. Jordan ran after him, sobbing, calling out, Dad! Dad! Laura stood motionless, one hand over her mouth, staring at her husband as if at a stranger. Mother turned to Olivia and me. She smiled weakly, but it was a real smile. Thank you, my children. I stepped forward and hugged her. Olivia wrapped her arms around both of us. The room applauded, not with cheers, but with soft, emotional claps. Victor had lost, not because of money, but because he chose wrong. He chose greed over love. And now, he had to pay the price. I looked at Mother, my heart filled with pride. She was 86 years old, but today she was the strongest person in that room. The funeral ended not with condolences, but with life. The life of a woman who had pretended to die to uncover the truth about her family. And that truth was painful, but it set all of us free, slowly breaking apart. Victor was brought to trial swiftly. At first, he tried to deny everything, claiming that his mother was genuinely losing her mind, that he was only helping, and that all the transfers were legal. But the evidence was overwhelming. Footage from hidden cameras captured every moment he forced her to sign documents, every threat that Mother would soon be at peace, every high dose of sedatives later confirmed by toxicology reports. Bank records showed $320,000 siphoned away. The testimony of Dr. Elias Grant, after receiving partial immunity, buried Victor completely. Grant admitted to prescribing excessive medication at Victor's request, in exchange for a so-called long-standing friendship and a sum of gratitude money. Victor was sentenced to 6 years in prison. The court ordered him to repay the full amount he had taken, along with heavy fines. His investment broker license was revoked permanently. Laura filed for divorce immediately after the first court hearing and was granted full custody of Jordan. The boy cut off all contact with his father. No visits, no letters, no phone calls. Jordan came to see me once, eyes red and swollen, and asked, "What am I supposed to do now, Uncle?" I simply held him and said, "Live according to your conscience. Your grandmother still loves you, and Olivia and I do too." Dr. Elias Grant was stripped of his medical license for life by the medical board. He lost his job, his reputation, and now lives in the isolation he created for himself. Mother moved into a small condo in Queen Anne, just a 10-minute walk from my house. She no longer wanted the big family home. Too many memories, too many empty rooms. She preferred the small apartment with a balcony overlooking Puget Sound, where she could sit and read, sipping tea every morning. We had dinner together 3 times a week. She cooked simple meals, tomato soup, garlic butter toast, vegetable salads, the same dishes she used to make for Victor and me when we were children. Olivia flew back more often, bringing fresh flowers and stories about her old-growth forest conservation projects. Grandmother and granddaughter would sit for hours, talking about Shakespeare, about the environment, about life. Mother began writing again. Not academic books this time, but a short memoir about aging with dignity. She shared her story at conferences on preventing elder abuse. She established the Maggie Bennett Elder Dignity Fund, using the money Victor was forced to repay, a fund that provides free legal aid to elderly people exploited by their own children, organizes educational workshops on power of attorney, and supports research into the warning signs of psychological abuse among seniors. One evening, about a year later, Mother and I sat on her condo balcony. Seattle rain fell softly, tapping gently on the awning. She held a cup of hot tea, wrapped in a wool blanket. I sat beside her with a mug of black coffee. I asked quietly, "Do you ever regret it, Mom, testing us like that?" She was silent for a long time, watching the rain. Then she answered, her voice warm and steady. "I regret that I had to do it. I regret that one of my sons could do such things, but I do not regret knowing the truth. I needed to know who would stay when I had nothing left to give. And you, my son, you stayed. Not for money, not for a will. You stayed for love. I took her hand. It was warmer now, no longer icy as it had been during the months she pretended to be ill. You taught me that doing the right thing is always hard, especially when it is hardest, I said. I didn't let Victor win. I protected you, even when I thought you were already gone. She smiled, that gentle smile I remembered from childhood. That is why you passed the test, Alexander. Not because you visited often, though that mattered, but because when you thought I was gone, when you believed you would get nothing, you still chose justice. You protected me when there was nothing left to protect. That is what real family is. We sat in silence, listening to the rain. Inside, my phone vibrated. Olivia was calling from Portland for our weekly conversation, maybe an update from the lawyers about the fund. Life went on. Mother looked at me, her eyes still sharp despite her age. Do you know what is the saddest thing? She asked. I shook my head. If Victor had only told the truth, if he had said he was struggling, in debt, and needed help, I would have helped him. Not everything, not in a way that excused his mistakes, but I would have helped. Instead, he chose to steal. He chose to treat me as if I had already been dead for a long time. And that choice took everything from him, his wife, his child, his son's respect, his career, and his mother's love. I said nothing, only squeezed her hand tighter. She continued softly. Family is not blood, my son. Not a will, not property. Family is presence. It is love without expecting anything in return. It is fighting for what is right, even when it means standing against your own flesh and blood. Victor chose wrong. He paid with prison, with loneliness. And you gained something more valuable than any inheritance, more years with me, evenings like this, and the chance to help others avoid the pain we went through. I looked at her, an 87-year-old woman now, still upright, still sharp, still my hero. You are my hero, I said. She chuckled softly. Not a hero, just a mother who wanted to be loved for who she is, and you gave me that. We sat there under the gentle Seattle rain, hand in hand. Life is not perfect. The scars remain, but we healed through truth, through love, through choosing what is right. And that is the greatest lesson Mother left behind. Real family is not what we receive, but what we are willing to give, even when there is nothing left to gain. If this story touched your heart, please like and subscribe to the channel for more stories about greed, betrayal, and the power of family love. Leave a comment below. If you were Alexander, what would you do? If you were Maggie, would you dare to test your children that way? I truly look forward to reading your thoughts. See you in the next video, and thank you for staying with me until the very end.